Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Mrs. here. Today I'm back with a brand new deck profile on Mama Gredora. I've been extremely delayed in doing this video as usual. After Descendant, I was just really exhausted. I was going to do a couple of deck profiles as well as some collaborations, but the collaborators have very busy schedules, so I wasn't able to. So I just had to pull out one of my own. So I decided to pull out Gredora to do a deck profile on. Just two things before we start. First thing is obviously the standard for Axis Vanguard. We are still around. We do journalism as well as articles on various Vanguard stuff. So do check us out. There is no Gredora article per se, but especially for Descendant, which I just finished up. Please check it out if you're interested, as well as others like if you like Chronojet, Chronofang. There's a Blau one coming up too, so for all you mecha fans, you'll like that. Most importantly though, if you've used Twitter or you are a fan of WinningImage, another content creator, you'll know that we are actually having this thing called Cardfight Con. Not we, he's having this thing called Cardfight Con, and I'm a part of it because I'm with Axis Vanguard on the written panel. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty fun. So basically, it's a giant convention with a bunch of other cool big names like the Epic Commander Jamie. There's like the typical standards like Different Fight, Solemn Vanguard, Vanguard Insider. There's no W Slasher, but all the other big names are there. I mean, for those who like proxies, Top Deck Heroes will be making an appearance, I think. There's a bunch of other guys. Machina Blau, the god of the subreddit. Then there's that funny fella named Lord Dravov. You shouldn't miss it. I don't think it's some like cheaply made stuff. I think the staff behind this convention put a lot of effort into it. So yeah, please check it out. So without further ado, now we'll get into the actual deck profile for Mama Gredora. Alright, so this deck focuses very heavily on grade 3s because of Gredora. We play quite a lot of grade 1s due to toolbox purposes, and I think the only flaw, the only two flaws of this deck that outrightly like scream at me would be that this deck is very reliant, or at least Gredora is very reliant on your opponent having a board. And the second weakness is obviously not being able to find grade 2s. So generally when you play that, I generally try to see if I can fix those problems. So you're going to see what I do to fix those problems and why. So this is not the typical straight up, oh, this is based on cradle build. It's more of just something I've innovated myself, and I generally hope you learn something from it. So we play, of course, 4 copies of Mama Gredora. I'm going to cause some people to scream because we only play 3 Hell Demise. We play 2 of Dark Face, the original, and then we play an old newcomer, Cyclomatooth. Credits to the aforementioned Lord Java for suggesting this to me. Alright, so let me explain one by one. Gredora, there's no need to say, she's the main boss, she is the queen. Simface over here, what's he here for? He's here just to help for the board control, because when he's summoned by an effect, he gets to discard. You could discard 1 card and install a cradle. So because of cradle's mechanic that allows you to get a new card into your hand when the cradle dies, it's effectively a 1-for-1, but you do get to put a lock, sort of. Like not the lock that we know, just like a lock, like a legitimate lock onto a rear guard, so that kind of helps. The 3 Hell Demise. Why 3 Hell Demise? Hell Demise is really good because it gives you a free restand during the battle phase when you call it with Gredora's effect. The only catch is it's during the battle phase. If you draw this guy, he's literally vanilla. He does nothing, close to nothing. None of his effects are good enough to warrant just calling him during main phase or using him anything outside Gredora's superior call. And as well, you should know that this requires you to have another rear guard that can attack from the front row. So there are many cases where Cyclomatooth is like, no Cyclomatooth, Hell Demise is actually very vanilla, completely vanilla. So if you hinge your entire strategy based off, oh, I'll use Hell Demise to reset somebody Gredora and then I'll get multi-attacks, so that makes me cool. No, it does not. Sometimes you will be surprised, less attacks, but with higher quality, may actually be better than just cheap 22k swings that 1 damage trigger and your entire strategy is invalid. And that's the main problem with Hell Demise. And that's what Cyclomatooth is here to fix. Gredora doesn't really have a way to solidly close games, or at least by herself. She's good for control and dragging out the match, but she has no way to accurately punch it. Mega Colony doesn't have a Gauntlet Buster or its own, Draconic Overload across, but they do have Cyclomatooth, who is, well, he does have some crit pressure. He helps mill the top card of your opponent's deck, and he gains 10k when he attacks until the end of turn. And if the unit was grade 1 or higher, he gains a crit until the end of turn. Now, why am I specifying that? This is because of Hell Demise. If you have a Cyclomatooth already present on the board during main phase, you swing, then you use this effect. Then you call Hell Demise later on, restand it, it keeps the 10k and a crit. So that is pretty explosive because when you attack, you can do it again. So you gain another 10k and possibly another crit. And even if you don't get the first crit or the second crit, keep in mind that Cyclomatooth is already a 32k attacker, which is pretty good. The only downside is Cyclomatooth is very cost intensive. It's CB1 SB1. So you will need to know how to play around with your resource management, when to use it, when not to use it, and yeah. Cyclomatooth has another skill which most people forget, but I feel it's worth mentioning. When you ride over, so of course you use the Great Mama Gredora, you ride it over Cyclomatooth, your opponent has to discard one card from their hand, and your vanguard gains 5k for every grade. So it actually has there's actually a bit of a reading between the lines. If the opponent discards a grade 0, yeah, you don't gain power, but he just lost like 15 to 20k shield. If your opponent discarded, say, a grade 1, then he loses 10k shield, you gain 5k power, which is pretty not bad. And if let's say he discards a grade 3, because he just chooses to discard a grade 3, well, he loses no shield value, but you do gain 15,000 power. And let's keep our fingers crossed. If you discard something like Valkyrian, you know what I mean, So generally, Cyclomatooth is just offering too many, it opens up too many strategies for Mega Colony that you will not run it. And if let's say you can't afford Cyclomatooth, because Cyclomatooth is an old card that is a bit pricey, we here recommend I was going to say Hell Demise. Antlion. Antlion is practically the same in terms of giving you crit abilities, and it gives you Sentinel Restrict, which is even better than Cyclomatooth in some cases, because Cyclomatooth can just be PG and he just falls to the ground. Antlion, you can't Sentinel, so it's like a miniature waterfall. So it's just an option if you can't afford Cyclomatooth, but generally this is how you do a lineup for Gredora, especially when you fight the current meta where there's not so much of board reliancy. So stuff like Dark Phase and this Dark Phase and Hell Demise, they don't really become that important, so you may want to run a finisher. Oh, my camera. So generally the grade 3s are the biggest section of the deck. So moving on, you'll see that it is gonna go really fast. Thank God I'm on a time limit for this video. Alright, grade 2s, we have Nimomphus, I think 4 copies. I don't know if you can see that. And then for Sticky Bowlers. Alright, so let's get into it really quickly. Sticky Bowlers, really standard. It is a Dark Phase Searcher. You count last one, look at the top 6. Add up to 2 Dark Phase with different names. Oh, that one didn't land. Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. It counterblasts 1 though, so there are situations you actually don't want to use it, but just keep in mind that it is an option. The second one is also the fact that when it attacks, you can Soul Blast 1 card. You gain 6,000 power. The sticky bowlers for each cradle you have on the field, and if Sticky Bowlers exceeds 21,000 power, you get to draw a card. And you may say, wow, 21,000 power, that seems like a lot, doesn't it? Well, yes, but actually no, because if you actually do the math, 2 cradles, that one didn't get the camera again, 2 cradles will actually give you 12,000 power. 9 plus 12 is 21, surprise. So you actually hit the draw ability pretty easy with just 2 cradles. And 2 cradles is very affordable. Gredora at Counterblast 1 already gives you 2 cradles. So it's just too free. I mean, it's not as free as Vanquisher levels of free, but this is pretty affordable, I would say. Considering that we already have Cyclomatooth who eats a lot of your resources, I can't say that there is a better option for resource management, but this is just too good of a deal. Then we have Nimomphus. Nimomphus is a bit more mild. If you have a cradle marker, it gains 6. So even 1 cradle marker, it gains 6. But even if you have like 3 cradle markers, the power doesn't stack. So it's a drawback, but it's still synergized with Cradle. The second ability is when it's retired by your effect, Soul Blast 1 and install a Cradle. You may say, oh, retire, but who actually retires? That, of course, will be Mama Gredora. Because when you Superior Call a Grade 3 during the battle phase with her effect, you get to sack one of your rear guards and replace it with a Grade 3. You can sack generally anything, but this is basically telling you that if you sack Nemophis, you will get another Cradle. So this could synergize with maybe the Sticky Bolus on your field, and then you could pull out a Hell Demise, which is generally the general strategy of Gredora, but even the basics have to be highlighted in that profile, I feel. So that is generally how Nemophis is used. She is, I'm not gonna lie, falling out of favor among some Mega Colony players because of the fact that that's generally all it does. It's just a 9+6, and most of the time your opponent already has all of his or her units cradled, so the Soul Blast one doesn't really matter. To me, I just feel it's a good option to carry, even if you don't trigger the Soul Blast 1 effect when you eat, oh my god, I'm playing Tachikaze. When you sack Nemophis, I think it's still okay to carry, but you might want another option. Megalorancer, for example, helps with your soul, which, as you notice from stuff like Sticky Bolus as well as Cyclomatooth, you do eat quite a lot of soul. So maybe you might want to carry a Megalorancer, you may choose to carry Machining Mantis, you may even choose to carry the 12k Vanilla, which I've seen some lists in Japan carry. So generally, I think it's up to you. Gredora is relatively flexible in this aspect, but of course the one that you can't debate is Sticky Bolus. As you notice, a Grade 2 is pretty little. I mean, even this is almost like playing Dimension Police, so yeah. Anyways, the Grade 1s, this one will be pretty fast. 4 Butterfly Captain, 4 of Nemopho? Oh no, not Nemopho, what's the name? Can't remember the name. Little Dorcas, yeah, and then a PG. Yeah, that's a little read. Alright, let's discuss very quickly. This is your main resource card. This card will save you all of your resources. Why? When placed, you can choose one of your rear guards against 10,000 power. At the end of the turn, put that rear guard into your soul and counter charge 1. I need to highlight this right now. You do as much of the skill as possible. Why do I state this? It's pretty easy. If you're using Gredora to consume, sack your rear guard that just gained the 10k, you can't put it into the soul at the end of the turn. But you can still countercharge. There is no clause, if you can read Jap or if you can see the English version, there is no clause on Butterfly Officer that makes it conditional that you must do this to do that. The only clause was when placed, you rest. Oh my god. You rest it. So literally the rest of the entire skill, you just do as much as you can. So because this is a card that has quite a lot of ruling, so just keep that in mind, my Gredora friends. This one had the errata in English, the retire it. Pretty funny. But what's the skill? The skill. Basically, you sack her, and then after that, you sack one of your opponent's rear guards with a cradle. Just for free, just sack one. Then you search your deck for one card of the same grade as the unit that you sack, and add it to your hand. This card's ability can only be used once per turn by a card of the same name. Now, why is that important? Well, here's why. I don't have any other cards. So let's say there's a Grade 2 on the board that has been cradled. Okay, so I'm going to move this one side first. Say there's a Grade 2 that has been cradled, right? So after you cradle, you use this guy's skill, you sack her, alright? Then you get to sack this unit. You get to Superior Call a Grade 2 because the cradle unit was Grade 2. Then you will activate the cradle's effect. When the cradle is broken because the unit that it was on has been retired, by retired by anyone's effect, by the way, yours or the opponent, it counts. Then you get to search your deck for a Grade 2 and add it to your hand. So generally, as you would have just noticed, due to this one card, right, you just gain literally 2. You traded 1 in to get 2. So it helps to build up the advantage. This is generally one of the best cards to build advantage in Gredora. So 1 gets to your hand, one gets your field. But as you probably know, you could literally just call the other one and it's counted as 2 to field instead. But generally there are other applications for it. So that is why you also see stuff like this card in here, which is the Grade 1 PG. It's a very odd choice out of the blue. Why are we playing this 1 PG? Well, if you cradle a Grade 1 and then you sack the Grade 1 cradle, you will end up being able to get a Grade 1. And there are cases that since you already get to search the whole deck, you might as well just add 1 in, and if you need it, you can take it. If you don't get it, so be it. But the option is open. Some people play more than 1 Grade 1 PG, which I generally think is okay, but I think it's up to you, honestly. Then of course there's Little Dorcas. Little Dorcas is your generic Grade 3 searcher. You may not even want to Grade 3 search because you might want as many Grade 3s in the deck as possible because of Mama Gredora. But I play Little Dorcas for a completely different reason. It's a 13k booster because of the skill that if all of your opponent's rear guards are at rest, this unit gains 5k. It is strangely more used here, especially because if you notice, Gredora doesn't gain power very significantly. Definitely more significant than the Eradicators per se, but we still do have a bit of trouble reaching numbers. The only numbers you could possibly reach here is through Cyclomatooth and this. So that should be your indication that power doesn't come very easily, and most of the power in this deck is tied around the cost. You must do this to get that, this to do that. But for this guy, it's literally your opponent must put all of your rear guards at rest to be able to gain the 5k, which generally your opponent will unless he's not playing this game right. So I digress. Moving on. Now for the Grade 1s, Grade 0s. The Grade 0s, generally a lot of people play a lot of crits in Gredora because, you know, they say, oh, since Cradle has your entire draw power settled, then we can just go in ham and just crit your opponent to death. Let's go 10 crit, 12 crit Gredora. I do 4 heal, this is 4. I play actually less than that. I play 6 crit with 1 PG and 6 draw with 2 draw PG. I'm going to shift the camera. Now, why is this? This is not... I'm pretty sure I can safely say I'm going to be the first guy on the internet to be telling you to play 6 crit and 6 draw. Now, why is that so? Firstly, like I mentioned before, the pure Gredora build seriously suffers from, you know, board reliancy. If you run against literally DOTX, Night Rose, Harry, Lucria, Big Belly, if you have a Big Belly player in locals, or MLB, literally anybody that retires their own board, PBO for that matter, literally anyone that sacks their own board, you have a problem, a huge problem. So generally, if you say, oh, I'm leaving it to the cradles to do my drawing, it has mixed results. On one hand, if you fight against a board that really opponent that really needs the board, then you've practically won the game. You have more than enough tools at your disposal to kill them off and control them to death, cradle them to death, mind you. But here, if you play literally against anyone who doesn't have a semblance of a board, you will be at their mercy more often than not. So this is why I generally found that playing a healthy amount of draws is necessary. There is no way that you can continue the old style of playing Cradle Gredora without running into any problems if your opponent has a less than large board. And mind you, that is if they even pop the cradles. Even if they had a board, then you cradle them and they don't touch the cradles at all, or you don't get the chance to touch their cradles, then you still don't get the card draw and you lose quite a lot of card advantage at the same time. You're paying resources just to put a lock on rear guards that you will never get that refund back. If they are vanguard centric, they don't care. Sure, you can cradle literally Igni Road and the lava flow, but if DOTX is going to swing at you 3 times per game, I don't think it really matters. You're going to lose too much in the overall game. So that generally summarizes it for Gredora. It's not as hard as people say it is to build this deck. It's not, say, very cheap either because you do need pieces here and there. Generally, a large proportion of the deck can be built from the set, but first of all, this is niche. Not everyone likes the insects, but I generally like Gredora, so that's why I built it. It's a fun control deck. It's not the best control deck. I have to put this out there. It's not the best control deck. There are decks that definitely control better. I can easily vouch for Blade Master being a much stronger control deck, and no one would really argue against it because Blade Master is just good in my opinion. It's my favorite. But I still think that for what it's worth, if you're a beginner, you may not want to pick up Gredora. It is not as easy as it appears to be if I show a video. But generally, I think the tip for Gredora, or if not any Mega Colony deck, is you really need to test every pro Mega Colony player. I'm not counting myself in. I don't think I'm pro in this. Like Commander Jamie has a friend named Duke. Duke is really good Mega Colony. For people who know Zayao, who's also on the X's Vanguard. Even the world champion Colin Lai, I'm pretty sure none of them would just give you a Mega Colony deck and say go. They will tell you to obviously test it out first. Same with me. You guys that are interested in Gredora, Machine, or literally any Mega Colony deck, don't take what you see as a list for granted and say, oh, I trust this guy, I'm going to go with this. No, you really do need to test and tweak. This deck is tweaked from the basic cradle list that you see most of the time because I'm facing against decks that are not very board reliant. But let's say you are. So you will need to tweak this list into something that fits you more. It's not as complicated if you play this for a bit, but you'll understand what I mean. And you need a starter. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this slightly longer deck profile, please let me know in the comment section below. Let me know what else you'd like to see. Generally, the next video you will see, or you won't really see from me, but you will get from me, is kind of like the what's it called, the Cardfight Con thing. Since, like I said at the start of this video, I am joining Cardfight Con as a member of X's Vanguard in the written content panel. So check us out. You know, I really like to have all of you down there with me. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe. I'll see you all next time. Thank you.